Hey guys, this is Shelby with the Roger Public Library. So this week for Full Steam Ahead, I want to talk to you guys about television, right? So you know what a television is, right? It's basically just a display, right, that shows you moving images, right? In a lot of ways, television and film are similar, but the technology is kind of developed separately, right? So you get movies or film, right? So that's just basically a bunch of pictures on a roll of photograph paper, right? Cellulose or whatever, that shows you the picture all in successive order, right? So it looks like they're moving. TVs are a little bit different, right? Instead of having actual pictures that are projected onto a screen, you have pictures represented by electronic signals, right? So in old TVs, which maybe you've seen them before, they're really big and really bulky. These pictures are actually analog, right? They're actual like electronic waves that get turned into a field of bright spots and dark spots that turns into a picture. And then the picture is what you see, right? We don't really use these old style TVs anymore. They're called cathode ray tubes TVs because they have what's called a cathode ray tube inside of them. And this is basically just a piece of metal that gets heated up really hot until it starts shooting off electrons, right? And electrons hit the screen, and there's a stuff on the inside, and that's just what lights up and what creates the image, right? So this is what's called an LCD TV. You're probably watching this video on an LCD display right now. So LCD just stands for liquid crystal display, right? So how liquid crystal displays work is basically there's two pieces of glass, but it's not regular glass, right? It's what's called polarized glass. It's kind of like the same material that sunglasses are made out of. And the way that the polarized glass is oriented is that the two pieces are at right angles to each other so that light doesn't get through, right? Just because of the way that light works. It's kind of, the actual explanation is kind of weird. It involves like quantum dynamics and stuff. But anyway, right? So there's two pieces of glass, and there's a little layer of liquidy stuff called liquid crystals between them. And liquid crystals are not quite liquid, but not quite solid, right? You can think of them kind of like lemonade, right? So it's a liquid that has solid particles floating around with it, specifically crystals, right? And so these crystals react to electricity, and when you put a current through them, it basically twists. They twist around, right? And they reorient the light. So by putting a current through the screen, you can change which pixels light up. And specifically, or the other part of that is that every pixel is actually made up of 3 pixels, right? Which is confusing, right? So it's like there's a pixel, and the pixel is made up of colors. But yeah, you get red, green, and blue. Just like, you probably can't see that, it's really tiny, right? And when you mix those colors together, you get white, and you can change the proportion of the colors to get different colors, like yellow over here, or this kind of greenish blue color. Yeah. So there's other types of TVs too, besides just LCDs and CRTs, right? There's something called plasma screen TVs, which used to be really popular when I was a kid, but aren't really being made anymore because they're really big, and they get really hot, and they don't produce as nice images as LCDs do. And there's also a type of TV called OLEDs, which are organic light emitting diodes. And these are kind of like the whole nice big thing, but they're not quite as, they're not really as popular as LCDs. And also, if you'll notice, right, this TV is really thin, and that's because it has LEDs in it, just like an OLED TV. And so it's just like there's lights behind the screen that light up and then actually let you see the colors that the pixels are producing. If you look at like an older LCD TV though, they tend to be much deeper because they don't have LEDs in them. They have compact fluorescent lights, which are a lot bigger. Those are kind of like the weird twisty light bulbs, right? As opposed to the not twisty kind that are usually LEDs nowadays, at least. But anyway, I'm going to show you guys this craft really quick. It is, surprisingly enough, a TV, right? This one got a little mixed up. This flap is supposed to be glued down. Okay, I'm just going to glue it down again really quick. Okay, so that's what the finished craft looks like. So I made this template. Theoretically, you can do this without making a template, but it was easier for me to do it this way. So yeah, this is what the template looks like before it gets cut out. So it's got little side thingies that fold down. And it also has letters on it, just to help you remember the order in which you're supposed to fold them down. Okay, so I used a thumbtack to crease the paper. That makes it a little easier to fold. You don't have to do that step, but it helps. Okay. So I got all this stuff folded down. I'm gonna use way too much glue just to be safe, right? So step one, fold it down like this, right? And so basically what we're trying to do is make a box, right? Because that's what a TV is, right? It's a big box. You need to crease these as well. Okay. We're gonna fold down this one next. Put the flaps down. So when I say that I'm using more glue, you don't have to glue every flap to every other flap. You really just have to glue the last, the one labeled C to the one labeled D, because those are the ones that actually hold it together. But why not? You know, it's more fun this way. All right, and then on this side, and then next step is to glue this big flap down, and that's the final thing. That's the thing that came undone on this guy. Okay. So I guess the downside of putting the letters on it is now there's letters on the side. But you know, it's what it is. Okay. This piece needs a little bit more glue as well. Okay. So yeah, it's dry enough that we can do the next step, right? Which is drawing on a screen. So it was supposed to be a rectangle. It ended up being not as much of a rectangle as it's supposed to be. Okay. Now I'm going to put little control knobs on it because they look cool. And then the last step, which I forgot to do when I was making this one, is bunny ears, right? Antenna. And for this, I just cut a pipe cleaner in half. You can probably cut it even shorter, right? These are pretty long bunny ears. But that's our little TV. That's a craft that you can pick up here at the library. Yeah, so that's what I have for you guys this week. Oh, one last thing. I do have some books, right? So this one is called Inventing the Television. Doesn't have the author's name on the cover. Carolee Lane is the author of this one. Actually, it is down here. It's just behind the sticker. And then this one is called Philo T. Farnsworth, The Life of Television's Forgotten Inventor by Russell Roberts. This one's a little bit older, but that's okay because the technology that they talk about it is old too, right? So it's not like it's going to change. It's not like people are continually developing like old-fashioned TVs. But this was just some random guy from Utah who didn't go to college or anything. He just invented TV, and some other stuff. Um, so, but he's pretty cool, and he has a really cool name. So, that's what we have for you guys this week. I hope you had fun. You learned something. I'll see you next time.